I chose our new book since we just finished Letters from Felix. We are going to read a nonfiction text. We don't really call it a story or a book because it has facts and it's teaching us something. So we're going to read this nonfiction text and hopefully you can figure out what it's about. Yep, frogs. That's absolutely right. So when we read a nonfiction or an informational text, it's different than a story. There aren't really characters and a setting and a plot with beginning, middle, or end. In here, we're looking for more of text features. Text features are things that we can find on the pages in this text that help us to learn the most from the book. So as we're going through it, I will be introducing and showing you and talking about some text features. But what I want you to think about while we're reading or while you're listening to me read is the things that you are learning from this text. Because at the end of it, or maybe even every day, after we read a little bit of it, I would like for you to write down 1 or 2 or even 3 things that you learned or found interesting. Maybe you already knew it, but it's something that you think would be a cool fact to share with somebody else. So the purpose of our reading this together is not just going to be for you to listen to a new story, but to actually learn some new things about frogs that you could maybe teach someone else. And maybe we'll even fill in a graphic organizer that has the word frogs in the middle, and we can fill in 3 or 4 things around the word frogs that we've learned. So again, while I'm reading and each day, what I would like you to do is think about something that you've learned from the reading, from this story or this text, and write it down. All right. So this is National Geographic Kids, and it's about frogs. It is by Elizabeth Carney. So the first text feature that I'm going to talk about today is a table of contents. And a table of contents is usually at the beginning of a nonfiction. Ooh, look at this guy. He's hanging on pretty tight there. It's usually at the beginning of a nonfiction or an informational text, and it gives us the different headings or different things that we're going to be reading or learning about, and it tells us where they are and what page. And the reason that we have table of contents is because sometimes you don't have to read a whole text to find out the information you want. If you're doing a project and researching frogs and you just want to know about the sound that they make, then you might go to this chapter or this heading here that says croak. And that's on page 8. So you can skip the other things because that's not really what you need to read about at that moment. But for us, we're going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to go through a piece at a time. Okay? So the table of contents is really important, and it helps you to know how the book is organized and what information you're probably going to be learning in the book. Let's get started. Our first chapter or heading is splash. And typically our headings are written either in bold text, which means they're darker than the rest of the writing on the page, or they're a different color, or they're underlined. But that is supposed to tell your brain that that's what these pages are about. So splash, splish splash. What is that sound? What is hopping and jumping around? What loves to swim? What loves to eat bugs? It's a frog. Can you hop like a frog? Ooh, that's a good movement break. Why don't you hop like a frog right now? 2 times. Okay. And so we have another text feature here, which is it's telling us what type of frog this is. So it says Pacific chorus frog, and then it gives us a real picture of that frog. So this text feature is to give us more information about this frog right here. And then we have a question. It says, oh, it's a joke. What happened to the frog's car when it broke down? Do you know the answer? The answer is it got towed, like frog and toad, but when you tow a car, a big truck has to come and take it. Frogs live all over the world, except Antarctica. Frogs usually live in wet places. They like rivers, lakes, and ponds. But some frogs live in trees. Some even live in the desert. Frogs can be found all over the world. Wherever they live, that's their habitat. So we've got a few different things happening here. So these are kind of like the labels for each of these different types of frogs. So we've got a marsh frog here. We've got an Andean marsupial frog here. Look at that leaf on its head. We've got a red-eyed tree frog here. And this one over here is a bullfrog. And maybe he needs to get cool, or maybe he's trying to camouflage. I'm not sure. So it tells us over here another little fact that Antarctica is the continent at the South Pole, and it's really, 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 really cold. That's probably why no frogs live there. And over here, we have another little fact. It says ribbit, habitat, the natural place where a plant or animal lives. So this is giving us the definition of what a habitat is. So all of these frogs on this page are in different types of habitats. But wherever the frog lives and survives, wherever its home is its habitat. All right, my friends, I'd love for you to take a moment to think about something new you learned and to write it down on a scrap paper or in a notebook. And you can email me, or you can share it with somebody at home. You could say it out loud. You could tell your stuffed animal. It doesn't really matter to me. What matters is that you're thinking about the facts that we just learned from this nonfiction text. See you tomorrow. Bye.